In honor of Shavuos, I would like to share with you a thought today about why we serve Hashem and how we serve Hashem, particularly those of us that have grown up in exile and have been surrounded by foreign nations and foreign cultures. How has that influenced us, and how are we supposed to now continue to serve Hashem? On Shavuos, we received the Torah. It was the foundation of our relationship with Hashem, and therefore I think it's important to look at this idea. But first, I would like to share with you a clip that I heard from my grandfather, Shlomo Tursky.
I once said a very schreckliche Sache. I said that most young people have their concept of Jewishness from Christianity. What are we doing about it? Are we cleaning it out? Do we realize what they are thinking? Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Summit. We have to be able to think of Hashem in a way in which it will be our God, the Jewish God.
My grandfather certainly is challenging us to be able to think about our Yiddishkeit in a different way. Today, I would like to talk about not how we understand ourselves in context of other religions, but of other cultures and other paradigms that we do find and are strongly influenced by. I would like to share with you the following story. This story takes place many years ago. I was in my early 20s. At the time I was in the yeshiva and I was the dorm counselor there. The yeshiva was doing very well and it built a new dormitory. Many of the local barchim therefore wanted to be able to come and take advantage of that new location. And my job more than doubled due to the amount of barchim that moved into this new dormitory. And therefore, I thought it was appropriate to ask for a raise. So I went to the person in charge and I asked him, now that so many barchim have moved in, it's more than double what I used to do before. Could I have a raise? I'm not asking for double, but a slight increase in the raise to show recognition of the new work that I was being asked to do. The man said he would think about it and he would bring it to the yeshiva. Later that day, I was called into the yeshiva's office and he started to yell at me, and he really let me have it. And I was completely confused by what he was saying. He was telling me that we don't work in yeshiva for money. We are yeshiva, we're part of yeshiva, we do things. It's not because we're working harder we ask for more money. I didn't know what those words even meant. I was so confused. The next day, the yeshiva called me in again, and again he yelled at me, and he said the same thing. Yeshiva is a place that a person puts in their heart and their life, and the yeshiva is able to pay them something, a token gesture, but you don't ask for more money because you're working harder. Again, I was so confused. I didn't understand what he was talking about. I remember walking around for days, not sure what those words even meant. And I went and I spoke to the mashgiach and I spoke to the yeshiva's son, and I couldn't understand. If you're asking me to work more, then it's appropriate to pay me more. And I couldn't comprehend what it was that the yeshiva was telling me. Just because you work more doesn't mean you ask for more. Yeshiva is something that you're supposed to just do and give and be part of. And he explained that if they give money, it's because you have greater needs, not because you work harder. And like I said, I was so confused. Finally, it began to dawn upon me what it was the yeshiva was trying to teach me. When it comes to Torah and Yiddishkeit, we don't do it because we're being paid or because we're going to earn something. We do it because Hashem created us. We do it because that's of who we are. Now, I've shared this story with many people over the years, and very often people have a hard time accepting and understanding it. So let me put it a little bit into context, but then I would like to share with you the thought that I think is important to walk away with. First of all, to the yeshiva was Torah. The yeshiva was a mitzvah. It wasn't the place where a person went to work. It wasn't your normal place of making an income. It was a makom kodesh. But second of all, the yeshiva lived by what he said. I had at that point in time, in the years before that, I was not able to pay tuition for its own story. And they never asked me for money. And when they asked me to be the dorm counselor, they didn't say that it would go to pay for my tuition. That was never a consideration. I was now working for yeshiva, so I would be able to get a stipend. And therefore, when I was called into the yeshiva, I expected the yeshiva to tell me, you're not paying tuition. If you want to raise, okay, then I'll go for tuition. And I would have been able to accept that. But he didn't say that because that wasn't his thought process. To him, yeshiva was a place of connecting to Hashem. It was a place of Torah. If a baruch can't pay for it, so he comes without paying for money. Money is not the primary focus of the yeshiva. So too, when a person works for yeshiva, you're not working for money. But I think the main concept really is that we have to recognize that we are directly affected by the culture around us, by capitalism, by consumerism. We don't do something unless it's worth it to us. We won't work unless we're being paid. If we're not being paid appropriately, then we have to go somewhere else. That's not the way we're supposed to serve Hashem. That's not the way we're supposed to do Torah mitzvahs. I believe this is the meaning of the Gemara when it says Le'olam Yagiz Odom Yetzer Tov Al Yetzer Hara, that a person is supposed to overcome his Yetzer Hara just with his Yetzer Tov, because he's serving Hashem, because we're children to Hashem. But if it doesn't work, then a person is supposed to be Yasik B'Torah, says the Gemara. Find a way to focus yourself, enjoy the Torah, find your own hana on it, and that will help you, give you the strength to overcome the Yetzer Hara. And if that works, great, and if not, Yikir understand that we have a certain responsibility and something we've accepted upon ourselves. If that works, great, the Gemara says, V'im lav, Yizko Yom HaMisa, a person should remember the day of death, which means that a person knows that he's going to have to give an accountability, losi lovoi, and he's going to stand, there's going to be a din v'cheshbon, there's going to be schar for all that he did right, and einish for the things that he did wrong. But the Gemara is telling us, we don't start off with Yom HaMisa, we don't start off with understanding that it's for my benefit, and therefore I do it, and if it's not, I'm going to get punished. Again, that's capitalism, that's consumerism, that's not why we serve Hashem. Why do we serve Hashem? Because we are Hashem's children. We were in the Kabbalah, the Torah, and Asinai, and Hashem said, you are Mamlechas Kohanim and Hagoy Kodesh, we are Hashem's nation, and we should be proud to be Hashem's nation. And that's why we serve Hashem. Just like when a child grows up in a family, they learn to be part of the family. And when they do the chores, it's not because if they don't, they're going to get sent to their room. That's not why we want children to grow up. They may do that initially, or when they're feeling bad, you may have to do that. But that's not why you want a child to be part of the family. You want him to be able to be part of the family and help around the chores because he is a child of the family. He's a part of the family. So now as we approach Shavuos, let's all remember, while it's true we were makabel malchus shamayim, and there is schar v'oinish and everything that happens, but we became Hashem's children, we became Hashem's nation on this very day, and therefore we celebrate and we rejoice in our family. And may we always be able to connect to Hashem in those ways. And while we may need to resort to consumerism and recognize that there's a schar v'oinish when things are going difficult, but remember, we serve Hashem because He is our Father, because He is our Creator, and because we are His people.